Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Financial Lovemaking. This is where we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between. I'm here with my buddy, partner, and co-host, Miss S. Tia Brown. How you doing today, Tia?
I'm doing great as always. How are you?
I'm doing really well, really well. Now you have a different background. Looks like you're not at Ebony Magazine today. You're chilling at the crib.
I'm not chilling at the crib. I'm working from my home office.
Oh,
Actually,
my bad. You're working at the crib.
I'm working from the home
I'm sorry.
office, as you frequently get to do. I'm actually about to go on a cover shoot for Ebony's upcoming cover. I won't share who, but look out. People should be will be very impressed.
All
So
right.
I didn't go into the office today.
Okay. Well, I'm just messing. I know you're a workaholic like I am.
Whatever. Throw me
So
under the bus.
while you're chilling at the crib. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about this. You and I were talking before about this woman named Susan Patton, who is AKA the Princeton mom. Who,
Right.
and I don't know why she's a Princeton mom. Maybe she has a child that went to Princeton, and she wrote a book, an interesting book called "Marry Smart: Advice for Finding the One."
The
And
one.
right, and on one hand, you have people that are saying this is great advice. She's helping young women learn how to pick a good man so that their lives will be what they want them to be, hopefully. And then you have other people, namely a lot of feminists, unfortunately, who say, this is really constraining for women. You're relegating women to this traditional role of mother and housewife, and you're telling women to spend all their time in college to look for a man. Women aren't supposed to go to college to look for a man. They're supposed to get an education. What did you think about just the whole idea of the book and the idea of a woman writing a book specifically dedicated to teaching young women how to find a good husband?
Listen, I think that in order to have a balanced life, there are many boxes that need to be checked, right? And one of the things that I liked about this author is that she isn't saying you have to get married, you have to have a family. She's saying that if you want to have that and, want that box checked in your life, you have to think strategically big picture, just like you do for everything else, for your education, for your career. Your life plan has to encompass all facets of your life. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Specifically, as a woman of a certain age who is looking for a partnership, I look at the choices that I've made. I looked at the choices my friends have made. Sometimes things just happen, and sometimes you do have to plan for them. I'll tell you an interesting story. When I graduated from Columbia University with my master's, I was I think like 24. My mother's toast was, you have your BA, you have your MS, and now it's time for you to get your MRS. I did not know what MRS meant, right? Getting married was so far out of my frame of thought. I was only thinking about career. I was only thinking about kind of like having fun, and I wanted to be married. I just imagined that it would happen. And old school, as you like to call it, the aunts, the moms, the dads, the uncles are always telling me, you have to look for the one, keep your eye out for that guy or girl. But it's something that we don't always put value on because there's such a value on going after your career and getting money, buying a house, buying a car. You kind of think the other stuff is just going to happen. So I do think it's important to plan for both. However, I think it's also important not to obsess over finding the one. And, when people look at books or articles, they like to take out the point that they most agree with or don't disagree with, right? They don't listen to the entire message. And I think this author does an excellent job of saying it's important not to obsess over it, but to think strategically about each facet of your life.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Here's an observation I made about Susan, and I'm sure other people have made the same observation. But I don't know if you noticed that she's a human resources consultant, which I think that's just such an interesting job title for a person that would write a book like this, because she's basically saying, look, your life is like your own personal corporation, and you're making a hiring decision, or your life is a business, and you're choosing a partner for that business. Why leave that to chance? And that's what I really love about her message. Is that it's saying, look, okay, look, if you don't want to get married, you don't want to have kids, then don't do it. And so that right there, I think kills off any of the, anybody who's saying, oh, well, she's oppressing women. She's not oppressing anybody. She's saying, look, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to do this, do it right. If you want something, make it happen. Make it happen the right way. Don't leave it to chance. And this is something I've always said. This is, I think, one of the most central tenets to financial lovemaking. When I was thinking about this, one of the things that led me to, really push forward on the first version of the book was I saw how many people were in marriages where they were not compatible with their partner in a multitude of ways, particularly financially, right?
Absolutely.
You're going east, he's going west, and I said it's interesting that when you really go back and you do it almost like the Big Bang Theory, where the scientists try to recreate the conditions of the Big Bang to understand the universe. I'm like, okay, your love, this marriage, this thing you've created, is your Big Bang. That's something happened that created this energy that went in all these different directions that really came to bear in a huge way in your life. When you go back to the origins of that Big Bang, what led to that bang? What led you to pick that man over that man or that woman over that woman? And in many cases, it's something so stupid and small, it's ridiculous. It's like,
You
well,
get so upset when you say that. You're like, it's something so
no,
stupid.
no, no, really. Like for a man, it's like, well, she was just so pretty, man, or she had a nice booty, or women, I like tall guys, or he had swag, or whatever it is that people like,
Right.
right? Like think about that. Most people will pick based on very simple superficial criteria. If you are a single person and an attractive person comes up to you who's relatively smart, relatively nice, you go on 3 dates and everything works out and they don't do anything stupid, there's a good chance you could end up with that person for life. And I would say that, instead of making seriously, or not, maybe not for life, but for a very long time, right?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I mean,
You can end up in a relationship with them not really based on
you can
core values.
no,
I
no.
get what you're saying.
What I argue is that you should make these important decisions with a multi-dimensional decision-making model. Not to the point where you've got a list. I knew someone who had a list of 27 things that a man must have for her to marry him. That's crazy, or to me. But I think you should certainly say, okay, can I really picture my life in the most important ways, going in a direction that's productive for me with this person by my side? I will argue this till the day I die that probably the most important decision you make in your life is who you choose to spend your life with.
Absolutely. I think the other thing that we have to consider here, and this might be one of the reasons that people kind of were like, oh my gosh, at college age, people are getting married later. And we know that, between 18 and 22, you are really just a portion of your core self. You're still developing who you are, your wants, your goals, your needs. So when you are looking for a mate, you have to be mindful of picking someone that you can grow with, right? Someone who has, like you said, core values, core likes and dislikes are similar, but also you can grow together, because I think that that's a really important aspect of not just getting married, but staying married, right? Because the things that you're interested in at 21 and 22, the career you think you might go for, your relationship with money, your relationship with your family is all going to change. So, or grow. So I think that that's another thing that people should be mindful of. But I absolutely agree with you. This is a strategic planning decision. Your partner in life is the person that's going to support you when you're up and down, that you're going to procreate with, and most importantly, is going to impact your level of survival, right? Whoever you're with, they get to co-sign for things, they protect you, and they put you in danger. So this is something that you want to do with as much prudence and care as you do with everything else that's important to you.
I couldn't agree more. And what really I think is, really something worth thinking about is the fact that there are, and I would say extreme feminists. I think feminism can be very good for the world because we know that we need equality, right? We need to fight for the rights of women to live the lives that they want. But Susan has received a lot of pushback from the more extreme feminists who say, well, this is oppressive toward women. You're not letting women make their own decisions, or you're pushing women into these traditional roles. And she makes it very clear from the very beginning. Look, marriage and kids isn't for everybody. If that's not what you want to do, that's fine. But she's saying if you want to do it the right way. And I think I don't think you can argue with that model. I think that we have to get away from the idea that says that in order to liberate women to freedom, you have to force them to pursue the thing that you think is the most free. Well, maybe for some people, and again, you're not just talking about women. I mean, her book is about women, but really, I think this advice can apply to men as well.
Okay.
I tell men all the time, if you want to ruin your life, choose a bad spouse. If you want to really ruin your financial situation, have kids out of wedlock, or get into a situation with a partner who has an equity stake in your life, who isn't going to make decisions that are going to be good for your life. And we've seen it. We've seen situations where a person is elevated by who they choose to marry, and then we see people who are deflated by who they choose to marry. And the final point I'll make on this, and I'll let you finish on that, is, dating is like any other market. Dating is a market, just like a job market, just like a market for an automobile, a market for like the stock market. You trade, right? And supply and demand certainly come into play. I'm an economist. That's what I do, right? And the thing about a dating market that I like about what she said is that, she said, look, when you're in college, when you're in school, for young ladies, that's the time when you're meeting the most men. That's the time when you're meeting the most men who are similar to you, who have earning potential. Many of them are going to graduate from college. Try to go ahead and nail something down right then, if you can. Not nail something down, but at least,
right.
At least be open to that. Don't
I
think
think
that it's going to happen necessarily down the road.
Right. And so to that point, I will add on. I think that Susan presents some really excellent points about keeping your eyes open and understanding the full spectrum of your wants and needs, not just in the moment. As a woman who's definitely been very ambitious, and people would assume that I'm a super feminist, and I've never put any of those kinds of labels on myself. But I do think that my perception of happiness and what I need has evolved as I've grown. And there are things that you would want in your toolbox to know starting out. It just gives you so many more advantages, right? So as a woman, how you present yourself, I think as a person, how you present yourself, you making is something that I don't think everyone is given equal standing, right? Some people get groomed at different points in their lives. Education, access to education and career building. Again, you don't always have equal access to that. Access to finances, you don't always have equal access or information about finances and how to go about building it. And access to strategic partnerships in love and marriage, right? So I think knowing as much as possible, knowing that this is a possibility for me and this is what I should know when I'm going after all of these things, just makes you a more happy and fulfilled person. So if you are 21 or you know someone who's 21 in college, we're not saying, I don't think this book says, and I wouldn't advocate, go out and find your husband. It's really about understanding that at some point you will want to be married. So you want to create great relationships with people that you're meeting now so you can stay in contact. And so that you're vetting for qualities that you like. So even if you're saying, I'm not going to get married by 22 or 25, I should be dating a certain type of guy. The type of guys that I interact with, I should be mindful of how I treat them if we break up, because you might end up wanting to go back to that pool, right? It's true.
No, you're opening up a whole can of worms on that. I agree. It's funny. It's funny how a person's preferences can change over time. I mean, when I got in my 30s and I started making more money, I started hearing from women who in my 20s who didn't want to date me, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
So your needs evolve, and this is why it's such a can, like you said, a can of worms. Though it's difficult to really assess who's ready for marriage at 22 and who's ready for marriage at 30 and who's never married and just takes the plunge, right? Because you're still evolving as a person. But I think that this book is one of those things that you should have in your toolbox to help you think big picture in all facets of your life. So we're interested in hearing what you guys think about this topic. Write in, let us know your thoughts, and talk to the young women and men in your life about the important tools they need for forming strategic partnerships down the road. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.